one of your videos mentions you can't buy love or buy your way into a relationship. Buying flowers, gifts, etc. in the beginning of a relationship. What advice do you have for those who started out like that, but those things have since ended? Should you should couples try to get back to that, or just let it go?
What would you say to them? Because we didn't start like that.
We didn't start like that at all.
Right. So how would you answer that?
I'm gonna tell you something my mother said to me when I was dating somebody years ago, and we were seeing each other, and he wanted me to make him some food, and I'll never forget it. I fried some pork chops, I made cabbage and rice, and it was really good. He really enjoyed it. The next time we saw each other, he was like, okay, I hope that you can make something else. So I did. But that evening, my mother said to me, she said, let me say this to you. If you guys plan on getting together and you don't continue to do that, that's going to be an upset. She said, don't start anything you don't plan to finish. She said, if you are not going to continue to do that, then you shouldn't start that. So that's why I think it's so very important that how you start is how you finish, because you should finish even stronger.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You don't see, a lot of times people do those different things, flowers and all that, and I don't knock it, because I love receiving flowers, I love receiving jewelry, I love receiving cards and gifts and all that stuff.
Right.
But I don't per se have to have that.
Right.
I want you to want me because you want me, and I want you to want me. And well, I mean, maybe I can't say that like that, but it's just not all about the things that you buy me. You can't buy me love.
Right. You remember back in school days, you know, you have these two boys duking it out. You know, they talking about they getting ready to fight after school and all this other kind of stuff. One dude is talking a bunch of game, right? He's like, you know, you gonna get these hands and all this other kind of stuff. Talking the most junk, talking the most, you know, smack. And then when they get to fight, he the one that get whooped up. All right, kind of reminds me of that. You know, you talking a lot of game, but can you back it up? You know, if you start off like that, you start off with the gifts and the flowers and the candy and all of that, wine and dining. You know, spitting game, you know, laying it on thick just to get them. And then once you got them, you have no motivation. There's no more hunt. You know, that's what men strive off the most is when we're trying to pursue a woman is the hunt of it. You know, I think more guys like the process of trying to get their prey, so to speak, versus actually getting them and having them. Once you do that, it's like, okay, game over. You know, I got you. I proved to myself that, you know, I can do it.
Right.
You know, so like you said, if you can't back it up, and then a lot of times they just kind of fall right out, and it ends up being the woman falling so much harder for the guy.
Yeah.
But in all actuality, in the beginning, the guy really wasn't falling that much. He just wanted to prove a point to himself that he just, you know, he can get this girl, this good-looking girl, whatever the case may be, or this older woman, or whatever. He just wanted to prove that point. So I really think that you really have to, or if you're in a relationship right now and you started off like that, you really have to finish. I know it can't be like that all the time. I mean, that's, you know, that's not really realistic to stay that way, or that motivation. In the beginning is always good. Everybody's good.
You're excited.
In the beginning, both sides are good. You're doing stuff too. The woman's doing, or whoever's doing the, you know, giving, they're doing stuff too, you know.
Because you want that guy to know that you want him just as much as he wants you.
Right.
So you go out and you do the same things. And like we just said, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't go and buy gifts for somebody you love. You know, I know they say love is an action word. So I don't necessarily know that you really love that person at that time. And like you said, it's just this all about the hunt. You want them to know that I can throw this on thick.
Right. You going in there the wrong way. If you're really interested in that woman, don't play around with them. Don't make it into a game. If you're really interested in them and want to be with them, obviously it'll be easier for you to continue those things or to continue the way you started. I knew that in the beginning. I was well aware of that. I don't know if you've seen other videos, but I mentioned the fact that I was well aware of that before I even started dating. I didn't want that to be the premise of the relationship. I didn't want that to be the base of the foundation. What I can give you versus what I can materialistically, what I can give you versus what I can give you from me. So I wasn't that kind of person.
Because you didn't buy anything.
I try not to. On top of being the kind of person that I am, but I knew, I've seen it happen too many times, and it's flopped and failed. And
no, and you. I'm not saying that you never bought me anything, but at the very beginning, we really didn't trade gifts.
I didn't buy you that to get you, or to persuade you to like me or want to be.
Now
with me.
We did go to dinner. We did visit.
That's normal stuff.
We frequent the movies, so we did those different things, and a couple of times I paid for dinner. A couple of times you paid for dinner. We never went Dutch.
Suggested.
Yeah, I had to say, okay, let me buy dinner tonight or this evening. He had an issue with it, but I wanted him to see that it's just not all about what you would like to do for me. It's what I would like to do, especially when I realized that I really thought that I really liked you.
Right, people can get used to that real quick. I'm used to him, and then becoming dependent on the other person because they're used to them doing all of this stuff or buying all of these gifts and just providing for them in a way that they haven't before or haven't experienced before. So you got to be careful of that.
Right.
If you start like that, you got to finish that way.
And I think in a way too, I had an issue with receiving gifts too, because I never wanted to be stuck in a rut or in a place where I felt like I had to depend on you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, at that time, because I really didn't want to have to depend on anybody. And I always felt, especially after being in a relationship for so long, so used to depending on someone, I was like, nah, I don't really want him to buy. That's why I was like, nah, let me get this, because I had that problem.
Right.
So
you didn't want to become that too. You were aware of that as well. So that's why it worked out so well for us, because she was aware on the other side of the fact that, I don't want to become dependent on somebody else. And I was the same way. So we both had the same vision. But I guess the question is, if you start like that and you're in a relationship still, how is it? What was the initial question? How do you stay, or what is your advice?
If they had seen one of the videos, I guess we talked about, we were and you purchased the computer for me.
Right.
But if the couple started off that way, if the guy started off buying lots of things for the woman and then he stops, do you remind them to get so that it can go back to that, or should you just forget it and just move on?
Well, you have to be aware of the fact. Let them be aware, especially if they don't know, and they just kind of get into it and get used to it. Like I said earlier, they get in that mode of, okay, I got you, I don't have to do anything anymore. So hey, just speak up and say, hey, you were doing this before we were, so that'll let them think in their mind, like, okay, let me reevaluate where I am right now. If I really wanted to do this, or if I'm just playing around, or okay, this is really serious, I need to keep doing or continue to do what I did, because this is how I got you in the beginning.
This is how I got you. But then another thing to look at is now we're together, now we're married, now we may have some kids. Is the money freed up to be able to buy all those things? Or have you guys taken on some new responsibilities? Okay, so now we have a house, we got a mortgage, we got a car note, we've accrued more bills, you know what I'm saying? So is it that the person is just not buying anymore, or is it that now the person doesn't have as much money,
they're not capable to do that
to do it right now?
Even still, that shouldn't be an excuse, because you should be able to show it in different ways.
And that's one of the things that you did for me. So it wasn't even the fact that, because I can't tell you that I never questioned and said, well, dang, he don't really buy me nothing, because it did go through my mind a couple of times. But the answer to, I shouldn't have been eating those coconut covered almonds. The answer to my question, I answered that question myself when I said to myself, well, he really don't buy me anything. But what I answered was he doesn't really buy me anything, but he's always doing something because I was a very hands-on person. I was very crafty. I can put up drywall. I did all different types of things around the house. So once Derek and I really realized that we would like each other, you would paint something even though you didn't care to paint. You know what I'm saying? Like one day when I talked about some of the things that I wanted done, and you said, well, Johnita, I can do that too. And I had told you, I said, well, if you come and you do this, then that's fine while I'm at work, blah, blah, blah. When I got there, you had done more than what you were supposed to do. You had tightened up one of the doors that I needed done. You painted that wall black. So he did all different types of other things other than just purchasing something for me.
Right. There's so many other ways to do that. It's like you have to take that money term, because that money is the value. What value can you bring to the other person? It's not just financially with with actual with bills. It's what can you do, what can you provide for me that's gonna be a little bit more valuable for me or for the other person. So bring that to his awareness, or if that's the lady's question, to whoever's awareness, and just talk about it. You may be in a different spot. You may have kids. You may have less capabilities to be able to buy and do what you did before, but just show it in a different way. Just talk about it, make yourself aware, and then ladies, understand too at the same time, if you are in a certain spot, you can expect that. If you are capable of financially, and you guys both are in the same spot you were in when you first started dating, be understandable to the guy too, because sometimes that lowers our self-esteem as a man, our masculinity, when we can't do what we used to do, especially financially, and we take pride in that, and once it comes down to not being able to, it's like that hits home, that hits hard for us. So just talk about it. I think that can be a very civilized situation if you talk about it and bring it up the right way. But yeah, I think so. Either way, start off how you finish, whether it be financially or through acts of kindness, things like that. But start off the same way. It doesn't have to be specifically, I buy you this, I buy you that, but I do this for you, I do that for you, I keep you in mind, and this, just being thoughtful, whatever way you can think about it. But
and if you are currently still doing different things for the person, and they're not doing it for you, you have to look at yourself and say, okay, well then why am I buying this for him? Am I buying it because I want him to buy for me? Because that's not really how it should be. Although you should do for each other, you know what I'm saying? So, like Derek said, maybe right now he can't. But if that mortgage is paid, if the bills are getting paid, then, we have to relax and just be like, okay, and like you said, just ask, go and talk to them, communicate, and let them know. Because sometimes they don't even know that you even thinking about. So there may be some other stuff in his head that he's not even thinking about, a flower or a card or a necklace. So talk to him nicely. Oh! Yeah. And remember to love, laugh, and live.